It's a very broad review of Safe Water Drinking Act rules and regulations. Total coliform rule, the risk types microbial, coverage all public water systems. Overview is the monitoring for coliform as indicator of potential contamination. Monitoring sampling is based on population size that requires confirmation for positive coliform. Surface water treatment rule. The risk types microbial. Coverage. All public water systems that use surface water or groundwater under the influence of surface water. Broad overview establishes criteria when filtration is required. A system must filter and disinfect or apply for reduced monitoring. Monitoring is looking for activation ratios, residual disinfectant concentration, and turbidity. Phase 1, 2, and 5 rule. The risk type, chemical and radiological. Coverage, all public water systems and non-trans, non-community systems. The overview is established MCLs or treatment for 66 chemicals, inorganic chemicals, volatile organic chemicals. Monitoring, 9-year compliance cycle with 3-year compliance period. Nitrate and nitrite only, the risk type, chemical and radiological. Coverage, all public water systems. Overview, it established MCLs or treatment. Monitoring, once per year. Florida, community or non-transient, non-community water systems that are subpart H systems shall monitor quarterly. Lead and copper rule, the risk type, chemical, radiological. The coverage, community water systems and non-transient, non-community water systems. The overview, it establishes treatment techniques for corrosion control, source water, and lead service line replacement and public education triggered by levels at consumer taps. The monitoring, consumer taps during each 6-month period. 2 consecutive periods triggers corrosion control or reduced monitoring. This rule is changing in 2024. Stage 1 disinfection byproducts rule. Risk types, chemical and radiological. Coverage, community water systems and non-transient, non-community water systems. Overview is to reduce levels of disinfectants and disinfectant byproducts, sets MCLs for HAA5s, fluorite, bromate, and TTHMs. Also sets a maximum residual disinfectant level and a maximum residual disinfectant level goal. The monitoring for disinfection byproducts, for surface water and groundwater under direct influence, COC and alkalinity. Florida, this is done quarterly. Filter backwash recycling rule. The risk type is microbial. Coverage is public water systems or groundwater under direct influence that use conventional or direct filtration. The overview, it requires a system to return backwash for filtration. Upgrades had to be completed by 2006. Consumer confidence reports. This covers all community water systems. The overview, the consumer confidence report must go out to consumers and tell them about the quality and health implications of the community water supply. Monitoring results and violations must be reported. This goes out once a year. Public notifications. It covers all community water systems. Broad overview. It divides notifications to public for violation into 3 tiers. Tier 1 is a serious health effect. Must be reported in 24 hours. Tier 2 is health potential that is not a Tier 1. That must be reported within 30 days. And Tier 3 is not immediate health impact, and you have 1 year. Tier monitoring results must be made to the public in a timely manner. Arsenic and new source contaminants. The risk type, chemical and radiological. Coverage is community water systems and non-transient non-community water systems. The overview sets the MCL and monitoring requirements for arsenic at 0.010 milligrams per liter. 0.010 milligrams per liter. Monitoring, it places the arsenic monitoring with other IOCs, inorganic compounds. Radionuclides rules. The risk type, chemical and radiological. Coverage, community water systems. Overview sets MCL for monitoring at each entry point and reporting. Sets public notification requirements. The monitoring places monitoring for gross alpha and radium-226 and 228, also uranium in standard framework, also beta if affected. Interim enhanced surface water treatment rule. Risk type, microbial. Coverage, public water systems using surface water and groundwater under direct influence that serve more than 10,000 persons. The overview is that set requirements for microbial contamination, including 2-log reduction of cryptosporidium, and prevents risk associated with disinfection byproduct requirements. Monitoring, combined filter effluent every 4 hours, continuous turbidity on each filter every 15 minutes, the NTU less than 0.3 95% of the time, a maximum level of 1 NTU disinfection profiling each week. Long-term 1 enhanced surface water treatment rule. Again, the risk types, microbial, the coverage, public water systems using surface water and groundwater under direct influence that serves more than 10,000 persons. Again, the overview sets the requirements for microbial contamination, including 2-log reduction of cryptosporidium, and prevents risk associated with disinfection byproduct requirements. Monitoring, combined filter effluent every 4 hours, continuous turbidity on each filter every 15 minutes, NTU less than 0.3 95% of the time, maximum level of 1 NTU disinfection profiling each week. Groundwater rule. Risk type, microbial. Coverage, public water systems that use groundwater. Overview, it sets requirements for viruses and bacteria. Monitoring sets inactivation levels for viruses at 4 logs, 99.99. Radon rule. Risk type, chemical and radiological. Coverage, community water systems that use groundwater, mixed groundwater, or intermittent groundwater use. Overview, regulates exposure to radon. Monitoring, results trigger additional or reduced monitoring. Stage 2 disinfection byproduct rule. Risk type, microbial. Coverage, community water systems and non-transient non-community water systems that do not use UV. Overview, works in combination with long-term enhanced surface water treatment rule. Monitoring, initial distribution system evaluation to determine monitoring sites. Long-term 2 enhanced surface water treatment rule. Risk type, microbial. Coverage, public water systems that use surface water and groundwater under direct influence. The overview, it regulates treatment for source water. Monitoring for systems serving under 10,000 cryptosporidium and E. coli monitoring. And that is a broad overview of the safe drinking water rules and regulations.